Okay, good. What did you think of yesterday's games?
It, it was very interesting.
Oh, okay, good. Today we are going to look at the Scotch game.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Actually, I chose the Scotch because I saw some games of yours where you are playing the Scotch.
Mm.
Okay, cool. So the first one we're going to look at is a game of Steinitz. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so Steinitz is playing black, so we're going to look at this position from his point of view. And he starts with e4, e5. Hey, Terry, welcome. How are you? Oh, it's Terry just joined us in Discord. No, sorry, on Twitch. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Okay, let's go there. Just setting up our board. So our board just disconnected. Grey would welcome. Bam, bam, bam. Okay. For some reason, our board is not connected. I'm going to give it back to you now. Okay. Oh, that's why. Okay, good. So it's e4, e5, and we're looking at from black's point of view, of course. And he goes knight f3. You go knight c6, d4. Now the Scotch is a very sharp opening, so as long as you know what you're doing in terms of the lines, you're fine. But if you start having to figure things out, it might not be as easy. So here white goes bishop c4. Do you know which opening we are dealing with now?
Is it the Scotch gambit?
Correct, yeah. Scotch gambit. So after bishop c4, black goes bishop c5. Thanks, Ted. I saw it last minute that the queen and the king were misplaced. Have to teach setting up the board. Okay, bishop c5. And here, white castles. Okay. So if he intended to play the gambit, I think it was important that he probably continued with c3. Letting it hang there gives black a bit of time. Black goes d6 and white goes c3. And now it goes bishop g4. Welcome, Simpiwe Zimdola. Okay, so this is actually much better than taking the pawn. This bishop g4. Because if you take the pawn like this, yeah, if you allow, you just allow white to develop more pieces into the game, right? Sorry for that. So it's important that you give you don't give white that option. So like I was saying, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, pawn d4, takes, and this introduces the Scotch gambit. And here after bishop c5, white castled. Black played d6, and after c3, he went bishop g4, which is a much more useful move, developing a minor piece, than to give white the option to develop. So here, white played queen to b3. So now things have become concrete. First, b7 is under attack, f7 is under attack at the same time, right?
Yes.
And you have to find the best move. And the guys in the chat also, you're welcome to participate in the process of finding the best move.
Is it queen f6?
Okay, let's say you play queen f6 and he takes on b7. What are you going to do? Okay, so it means you didn't even think about that one. Like I said yesterday, when you get into these positions, you need to consider everything before deciding on this is the one I'm going to go for, right?
Is it knight to a5?
It means you're not sure if you say is it, but it's not the move, right? The move it's a difficult one to make, but what I want you to know is that Steinitz, well done, Dinaf has helped you. Steinitz believed that a, a king is capable of taking care of itself. So if you look at his games, he was never worried about a piece being unable to, like a king, being unable to kind of protect itself. It didn't matter what was going to happen. And the move Dinaf suggested, Bishop f3, is very strong in this particular case. And this is something I think a lot of players could learn a lot from Steinitz, is that he was not afraid of getting his king harassed. And sometimes I think he went overboard. But I think if you look at his games, you can learn a lot in that respect. So bishop takes pawn, check. What do you do?
You play king f8.
King f8, very good. So the king is wonders, thinks knight a6 looks good. Okay, so after king f8, he takes here. What do you do? It's a bit of an unusual position. Knight e5 was not the move. Oh, is not.
Is it bishop times e?
No. Not bishop takes e. No, not queen a4.
Rook times bishop.
Very good. Rook takes bishop. Rook takes bishop. Very good. And here, pawn takes bishop.
His king is opening.
Correct.
Open.
Correct. So now you need to figure out how to take advantage of that.
Is it maybe pushing the g pawn?
Very good. I just don't like the uncertainty that maybe it's, I don't know. I'm not really responsible for this move. Queen g5 would have been a mistake enough because the bishop on c1 is still capable of moving like a bishop. But g5 is very good. So he goes queen here. Okay. What is the mistake that white is making here?
He's not developing his pieces.
Not developing his pieces. He's just playing around with the queen and neglecting development. So what do you do?
Is it knight to e5?
Very good. Knight e5. The reasoning behind this move is that black doesn't have any defenders.
For g.
Right? So if you could get 3 attackers around the black king, the white king, you could have a successful attack, right?
Yes.
Okay. So after knight here, he goes check. What do you do? Good, done enough?
Is it king e7?
No. You don't want to stay in the center, right? Just gives your opponent opportunities to irritate you.
It's king
Very
g7.
good. King g7. Now you take advantage of the fact that he can't really take that pawn with his queen. Do you see why? Okay. So if he can't take the pawn after here, he decides to play king here. Okay. At which point maybe he could take this pawn. Especially if he takes it with check, exchanges queens, he's fine. So what do you do?
You play king h8.
Very good. King h8. So you've kind of manually castled your king from e8 to h8. So now it's up to him. He decides to play rook here. What do you do?
d3.
There is a better move. Remember, the white king still does not have any defenders. The rook is not a defender. The queen is not a defender. As long as you know that's the case, you can actually attack it. So right now you need to open lines towards that king.
g4.
Exactly. g4. Not queen e8, but g4. g4 is a very strong move in this position. When I first saw this position, I think I was very young. I didn't see the game. I actually saw the position. You'll see the position that I'm talking about. Later on, I'll speak. It was in a puzzle book. So white plays this. He doesn't want to open the lines towards his king. So he goes f4. What do you do?
Knight to f3.
Very good. Knight f3. So when I first saw this game, it was here. And the question in the book was black to play. And I had to find a move here. I never got it right, but what do you do here?
Rook times rook.
Again, you looked at one variation and you made your move. You didn't even calculate if it works.
Oh, is it queen to h4?
Very nice. So you see, you're always capable of finding the moves. You need the discipline to look at everything and then deciding after you've looked. Are you with me? So it's quite clear. If you take the queen, then there's a rook g1 mate, right? Okay, so that's the obvious stuff. But of course, white saw that and played here. What do you do?
Play queen times h.
Very good. That's a nice move, right? And after rook takes?
Then you play rook g1 mate.
Checkmate. Well done. That was beautiful. Let's look at the next game. Okay. Notice today a bit faster and more closer to accuracy than what we were experiencing yesterday. All right, so we're going to look at the next one. But also these patterns, once you've seen it, when it comes up again, your mind finds it easy to process it. Okay.
Yes.
The next one is actually quite short. It's Fraser. This was played in Paris in 1888. Fraser playing Tabernaus. So it starts with e4. Black goes e5. Knight f3. Knight c6. And d4. Again the Scotch. Take. And white takes. Now black plays this move. Check. This can be very tricky to meet if you don't know what you're doing. So I'm assuming it's the first time you're seeing this one. But I'm sure someone should have tried this on you before.
No.
Really? So what do you do?
Is it knight to c3?
That's correct. Knight to c3 is correct.
Thinking of the 4 move.
Okay, so here the main move in this position is not what black played. Black played knight to f6. The tricky line here is bishop b4, threatening queen takes e4 check. Make sense?
But can't you just play... No, you can't just play bishop to d2.
You can't also just play bishop d3 because the knight on d4 is hanging, right? And this is an interesting line. And if I'm not mistaken, let me just check quickly. But it's quite a specific line. I think you play something like knight to b5.
Knight b5.
Yeah, something like this. Okay. But that's not our purpose today. In the game, you played knight f6, and I'm saying this is a mistake. Okay. What do you do?
Is it bishop to c4?
Nope.
G3.
No. I want you to observe that queen on h4. When he plays knight f6, it suddenly runs out of squares. It can't really go to any of the squares right now. No, not knight takes c6.
Knight to f5.
Very good. Knight to f5. And here, black made a mistake and played queen to h4.
Mm.
What do you do?
Bishop to e2.
Very good. Bishop e2. So here, you went there. What does white do?
Knight to h4.
Very good. Knight h4. And black resigned because the queen is lost.
In 8
In
moves.
8 moves. Yeah. That's the beauty of precision. If you can see, like especially when people violate principles quite early, usually there's ways in which you can punish your opponent. So you need to be on the lookout for such possibilities. That way you can take advantage. In the following one, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn. So it goes knight f6, knight takes pawn, knight takes knight, I mean. This pawn takes, and here white goes bishop d3. Black goes d5. So far this is kind of the main line, right? White goes e5. This is a bit suspect. Nowadays people play a pawn takes pawn. So here black goes knight to g4. Sorry. And what I want you to do is I want you to look at it from black's perspective. White is messed up a little bit by pushing that e5 pawn. Black has gone forward and is castled. Now he castles, and now it's black's turn. What do we do? Yes. What's your gut feeling? What do you feel like you should be doing here?
I feel like something like Queen H4 or something like that.
But how many attackers do you have in that case? That's
Two.
not
You need a third one.
exactly. So that's why sometimes hiring with such a move won't work because you don't have enough attackers. So you want 3 attackers. So you need to get that dark squared bishop somehow participating.
Bishop
Very
C5.
good. Yeah. Once you get the idea behind these basic principles, it becomes easy to see, okay, so that's why I need that move. And you wouldn't even think about trying to make Queen H4 work because it's just 2 pieces, right? So Bishop C5, he goes H3, which looks natural. What do you do?
Is it maybe knight times F?
No, not knight times F. It looks interesting, but again, you've got 2 attackers. So starting any noise there, and there's not many that can jump in immediately. So you need to be a bit more precise than that.
Knight times E.
Very good. Knight takes E. So E goes rook here. So you need to defend your knight at the same time. So keep on introducing more pieces.
Queen to D.
Queen 2.
No, Queen to F6 will be better.
Very good. Queen F6. So introducing an attacker at the same time defending an important piece. So he goes queen here. What do you do?
Bishop D6.
Okay, so if you go bishop D6, you're going what?
Back.
Going backwards. We don't want that. We want to move forward.
Castling.
Yes, castling. Castling is very strong and it's what's needed, right? Okay, so after you castle, he takes the knight. What do you do?
You play Queen times F.
Queen takes pawn check. Okay, so here he goes king here. It's your turn.
Bishop D6.
There's a better move. What's the better move?
Bishop times h.
Very good. So bishop takes h3 threatens mate on g2. So white decides to take. What do you do about this?
You play queen to f2. To f3.
Queen to f3, check. Right, so he doesn't have a choice. He goes here.
Bishop d6.
Bishop d6. Okay, so this was the problem with the position of his queen. And after he takes here, what do you do?
You play